Childhood and early steps in football. Mané Garrincha was born in 1933 in Pau Grande, a small village in Rio de Janeiro. From an early age, his life was marked by challenges, with a humble upbringing and evident physical difficulties. His crooked legs, which for many would have been an obstacle, ironically became one of his greatest weapons on the field. What if he had been born somewhere else, without these peculiarities? In the alleys and streets of the village, Garrincha took his first steps in football, enchanting locals with his unusual dribbles. Who would have thought that from that dirt field, one of the greatest geniuses of the sport would emerge? His talent seemed natural, as if he was born to thrill crowds. Was it curiosity or destiny? Maybe a bit of both. Over the years, he continued to develop his skills, turning his physical limitations into a unique advantage. The way he moved, defying conventional rules of the game, left everyone intrigued. It wasn't just about skill. It was an intuition that seemed to transcend football itself. Did these peculiarities shape the player, or was it the other way around? For many, the simple fact that he started in a small village is already an inspiration. There was no infrastructure, no professional coaches, just passion and undeniable talent. It's curious to think that while some have all the resources and don't go far, Garrincha, with so little, became a giant in football. With Pau Grande's streets as his stage, he dribbled not just opponents but life's challenges as well. Each game, each playful moment with the ball, was a way of shaping his future. He was unknowingly writing the first chapters of a story that would transcend generations and soon take him to even greater heights. Rise at Botafogo and club career. In 1953, Mané Garrincha made his debut for Botafogo and quickly stood out. His dazzling dribbles and speed soon caught the eye, leaving opponents lost and fans ecstatic. It wasn't just football, it was a dance, a spectacle in every move. How could one explain the ease with which he overcame any defender? At Botafogo, he became essential, leading the team to win several state championships and establishing himself as one of Brazil's best players. His magic with the ball and his improvisational skills surprised even his teammates. With each dribble, there was a sense that something extraordinary could happen. Who could have imagined how far it would take him? Garrincha seemed to play purely for joy, without worrying about tactics or obligations. This made every match unpredictable and thrilling. It wasn't uncommon to see him dribble the same player multiple times in one play, just for the pleasure of fooling his opponent. The curiosity here is, where did that relentless desire to entertain come from? He wasn't just a forward, he was an artist with the ball. His dribbles made opponents stumble over their own feet, leaving entire stadiums in ecstasy. Garrincha's impact on Botafogo was so great that he not only helped build victories, but also shaped a unique identity for the club. To this day, his name is synonymous with magic in the black and white jersey. While Garrincha shone on the pitches of Rio, the football world began to take notice of that player who seemed to have no limits. He would become a legend at the club, and little by little, he was beginning to write his name in the sport's history. And this trajectory would soon intertwine with something even bigger, the Brazilian national team. Brilliance with the Brazilian national team. Wearing the yellow jersey, Garrincha dazzled the world and won the hearts of fans. His performances in the 1958 and 1962 World Cups were so remarkable that he not only helped Brazil win, but also redefined what was expected of a forward. With Pelé injured in 1962, the burden fell on Garrincha, and he shone like never before. Can you imagine what it's like to carry the hope of an entire nation? In the 1962 World Cup, he played as if he were on the streets of Pau Grande, dribbling past opponents with the same joy and spontaneity. His performance was so extraordinary that he was named the tournament's best player, something you don't see every day. Was it curiosity? Or destiny? It's hard to tell when it comes to Garrincha, the angel with crooked legs. Garrincha didn't just dribble, he turned the game into art, bringing something new with every move. When he had the ball, fans knew that something magical was about to happen. It wasn't just football, it was a spectacle that united emotion and skill in one movement. Who could predict Garrincha's next dribble? Even with the pressure of representing Brazil, he seemed to enjoy every play. This lightness on the field contrasted with the responsibility of being the national team's star. It was this mix of talent and improvisation that made Garrincha a legend, not just for Brazilians, but for the whole world. With 2 World Cups under his belt, he had already achieved what few could. However, Garrincha's journey, full of glorious moments, also began to show the first signs that life off the pitch would not be as easy. What happens after reaching the top? Decline and personal struggles. After reaching the pinnacle of football, Garrincha's career began to face the challenges that come with time. The injuries, which had always been present, started to limit his performance on the field. In addition, off-field problems became more frequent, especially alcoholism. Isn't it curious how talent and fragility can sometimes walk hand in hand? The star who seemed indestructible on the pitch saw his personal life quickly deteriorate. Financial difficulties and family issues worsened his situation, affecting his performance in the sport as well. The dribbles, once so frequent, were no longer the same, and the fans missed the Garrincha who seemed unbeatable. Did the weight of expectations influence his downfall? Although his last years as a player were marked by a series of smaller clubs and discreet performances, the memory of his glories did not fade. The image of the idol who overcame opponents so easily contrasted with the reality of someone struggling to dribble past his own demons. Where had that contagious spark gone? Garrincha became a tragic figure, a living example of how fame can be fleeting and personal struggles devastating. Football, which had once been his salvation, no longer offered the same answers. Each new off-field challenge was like a dribble he couldn't make, showing that even the greatest idols have their weaknesses. Despite facing so many difficulties, Garrincha was always loved by the Brazilian people. The fans' affection remained, as did the curiosity to understand how someone so brilliant could go through so many hardships. But while football gave him fame, fate led him to a life full of ups and downs. And yet, his legacy was far from forgotten. Legacy and impact on football. Even with a turbulent end to his career, Garrincha's legacy lives on, inspiring generations of players and captivating football lovers. His unique dribbling ability was so astonishing that many say he redefined what it means to be a forward. For every new talent that emerges, there's always the comparison. Can he dribble like Garrincha? A curiosity that never grows old. His style of play transcended football, influencing everyone from amateur players on dirt fields to professionals dreaming of becoming legends. The way Garrincha made the impossible look natural serves as a reminder that sometimes spontaneity defines true genius. How can we explain this lasting connection with fans, even so many years later? At Botafogo and in the Brazilian national team, he left not just titles and victories, but an identity. The Garrincha way of playing became a symbol of joy and boldness in Brazilian football. His impact is not measured only in statistics, but in stories, legends, and of course, the numerous curiosities that still circulate about him. The legend of the angel with crooked legs lives on. Garrincha showed that football is more than just technique and tactics, it's also about emotion and art. His influence goes beyond the pitch, being remembered in popular culture and even in music. The love Brazilians have for him reflects the importance of recognizing that behind the player was a person who lived intensely, with all his ups and downs. After all, what would football be without its heroes? Even as generations change, the fascination with Garrincha never fades. His legacy is a constant invitation to revisit the past and rediscover a story filled with dribbles, magic, and passion. As long as there's football, Garrincha will continue to inspire, reminding us that sometimes all it takes to be a genius is to play with heart.